Jared has done a mock draft, the latest one, round 3. He has the Browns taking a defensive tackle from Florida, Garvon Dexter, with the first of their round 3 picks, and then Marvin Mims, wide receiver, from the Oklahoma Sooners, with the second of their third-round picks. So take us through what you like about Dexter and Mims, Jared.
You know, Dexter is a player who this is someone who has the traits and has the ability and has shown it on the field and just needs consistency. So he's a player I think is going to really benefit from a Dalvin Tomlinson to teach him kind of the nuances of the position. But at 6'6", he has the burst, the quickness off the ball. He just hasn't put it all together at Florida, which Florida has been up and down, more down over the last few years. But that's a player with some traits that I think when you look at where the Browns are kind of from a long-term perspective, slowly but surely, Tomlinson is going to be more of their one technique nose tackle. They need really a true 3 technique. Jim Schwartz wants a player that can get after the quarterback, and I think Dexter can play that role. Just needs a little time to develop and get that consistency. And then with Mims, we know they like the Sooners, right? They pulled in some of those guys last year. Mims is a better player than Michael Woods II, and we saw some flashes from Woods, obviously the Achilles injury. I think he's a player that can kind of give you the versatility that during his good years of Rashard Higgins gave you, has enough over the top and can give some really good route running, but can play in the slot. He's not the biggest receiver, not the fastest receiver. He's a good receiver who's going to catch the ball. I think he's a little more dynamic than David Bell. So he's just another player adding to that roster of wide receivers to make sure that Deshaun Watson has every opportunity to be successful.
When we look at your mock draft for round 4, a couple of guys we talked about last segment. So Carl Brooks, edge rusher from Bowling Green, and then linebacker Ivan Pace from Cincinnati. And you mentioned David Woods. That's a guy that's had success in a Jim Schwartz defense that Jim Schwartz pointed out he liked.
Yeah. I think these guys fit really perfectly. Again, I'm looking, the draft is about the future. I know fans want players that can play right away, but the draft is about the future. Free agency is about the now. And so Carl Brooks, listen, he's an interesting player with an interesting physical size, productivity, can get him here in the 4th round. Listen, if I can get a 6'6" guy in the on the interior and a 300-pounder on the edge, all of a sudden I've kind of mixed things up a little bit and I can do a few different things with players that normally are going to kind of switch those around. And then Ivan Pace, Schwartz talked about long. He doesn't care about size. He cares about a player who knows how to play the position. Having him sit behind Anthony Walker, learn from Anthony Walker. I think, again, you don't have a middle linebacker for next year, or I'm sorry, for the year after this. So 2024, you need to start planning there. And I think Ivan Pace is a player that will do that and be able, Ohio guy from kind of the Southwest, move him up a little bit, let him learn, can be helpful on special teams right away. I think you're just getting a style of player that Jim Schwartz will love.
Yeah, and, I'll throw another Ohio guy, London Fletcher. They said the same thing about him, and he had about a 13-year career with the Washington football team. That has been pretty good. All right, round 5. Let's look at what you had in your mock draft round 5. You got a running back from Georgia, Kenny McIntosh, and then a corner I know you like, Kei'Trel Clark from Louisville.
Yeah, listen, I'll bang the Kei'Trel Clark bandwagon the entire draft. I want him. He's my Antoine Winfield of a few years ago, junior, who I wanted to come. But I think Kenny McIntosh is a really interesting one. Running back is one of the few positions that Andrew Berry did not add to this offseason. And so really right now, looks like Demetric Felton is planning to be a wide receiver. And so you're looking at Nick Chubb, Jerome Ford, John Kelly. Like, you don't have a lot there. So I think using a 5th-round pick on Kenny McIntosh, who sat behind a lot of really good running backs at Georgia, he told me that he was okay with that. Like, he waited his time, but I just don't think he's produced as much because he just wasn't used as much. I think he's quick. I think he's good out of the backfield. I think he can give you a third down back right away. Here in the 5th round, again, you have 6 picks in this little section. Get some players that might be able to help right away, but also can develop over time. You still need running backs. You still need running backs who can catch the ball out of the backfield. You hope that's going to be Ford and McIntosh, and Nick Chubb just stays as your primary runner.